I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. The MAGA Republicans held a convention over the weekend in North Charleston, South Carolina. They called the convention Vision 2024, and things got weird very quickly as the MAGA Republicans spread their deranged conspiracies that they believe are the most important issues to the American people. Bring in MAGA Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn. Her speech was on how Democrats are taking away light bulbs and toilet flushers and shower heads. Here, play this clip from Marsha Blackburn.
Freedoms, they're under attack. They feel it every day. They see it when they watch the news. And they want us to be a government of, by, and for the people. And it distresses them that they see an administration trying to take, and an ideology trying to take total control of their lives. Whether it's your light bulbs, your toilet flushers, your shower heads, your gas stoves, or this week your washing machines. And I think if you want to make a lot of mamas unhappy, go for the stove and the washing machine. And it's a bit too far there. But people that are doing this, as my dad would say, that's somebody that's got too much time and too much money on their hands.
You know, instead of talking about issues like jobs and lowering prescription drug prices and things that the American people are focused on, this is what MAGA Republicans are focused on, as they've just become the party of a fake outrage machine. Here is, for example, Nikki Haley, the MAGA Republican nominee for the Republican primary. And here she talks about how she goes, what we really need to do here is turn or stop this national self-loathing of people here in America. Play this clip.
We can have that again. Don't let anybody tell you we can't have that again. But in order to have that again, we've got to stop this national self-loathing of people saying America's bad or it's rotten or the fact that it's racist. I was elected, you elected me, the first female minority governor in history. America's not racist, we're blessed. And our children need to know to love her.
You know, President Biden's messaging is actually very uplifting. He talks about how America's best days are ahead of us and how we need to continue to pursue policies like the Infrastructure Act and like the Inflation Reduction Act and like the PACT Act and all of the numerous policies and legislation that is actually moving America forward. It's Donald Trump who goes on his social media platform every day and says America's a third world nation and America's the laughingstock. America is the nation of investigations, because Donald Trump's such a malignant narcissist that he believes that he is the nation, which is a whole nother conversation to have, which is utterly despicable. But it's the MAGA Republicans who malign our nation every single day, not Democrats. We're trying to come up with solutions as part of the pro-democracy community to make things better. Here's Nikki Haley talking about how 90% of our American kids are now under CRT. Play this clip.
90% of our American kids are now under critical race theory. And what that means is if a little girl goes into kindergarten, if she's white, you're telling her she's bad. If she's brown or black, you're telling her she's never going to be good enough and she's always going to be a victim. And that's wrong. The idea that we are dividing our children based on race, based on religion, based on all of these things, that's not what was supposed to happen.
Yeah, these MAGA Republicans just make up things. You know, they make up these words, they make up, this is what's going on. None of this is true. It's just completely false. Then they come up with a statistic, 90% of the nation is under CRT. What does that even mean? Now, here's Nikki Haley's big policy. She goes, our kids all need to be saying the Pledge of Allegiance every day. Play the clip.
Our kids need to be saying the Pledge of Allegiance when they start their day so that they know to love America.
By the way, when I grew up, when I went to school, I said the Pledge of Allegiance every day. Look, the bottom line is that what I want to hear politicians talking about is not whether the government is going to enforce or going to force schools to say the Pledge of Allegiance or not saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Look, I love this country. I love our Constitution. And as someone who loves this country and loves our Constitution, to me, it's not about performative gestures, right? It's not about just using words. It's about actually engaging in conduct to help this country, to improve this country. What type of legislation are you going to be introducing? What type of policies are you going to be implementing? That's what I care. That's what I want to focus on, not this performative, like wannabe fascist theater that the MAGA Republicans are engaged in. And here we have Nikki Haley again saying the problem that we really have, one of the biggest problem, is school bureaucrats. Here, play this clip.
The problem is these school bureaucrats have decided parents can't do their job. So they now suddenly think they have to go and infiltrate everything that they think should be taught to our kids. We are still the parents. We have to fight for our kids. We have one job, and that's to make sure that we raise our children to be strong, faithful, responsible kids. And if we don't stop all this woke ideology that's happening in our schools, we will lose them. And we can't afford for that to happen.
You know, and part of being a MAGA Republican is you have to have this whole tough person routine. So here's Nikki Haley saying that she thinks that she could just tear anybody apart, just rip them to shreds with her smile. Play the clip.
Dual personality? I mean, just help us with this.
No, when you're born in South Carolina, you learn how to kick with a smile, right? So, I mean, it's... Look, I am a fierce fighter when it comes to my family, when it comes to my country, when it comes to the things that I love and believe in. But I can pretty much tear you apart without you realizing I just did it. And I can smile the whole time doing it.
Here's MAGA Republican Senator Tim Scott at this convention, basically saying how during the pandemic, kids were forced out of the classroom. Then they were forced back into failing schools thereafter. Again, there's a constant attack by MAGA Republicans on education, on teachers. And this is, again, one of their main issues is attack education. They want to abolish the Department of Education. Play this clip.
And then you would target education if you wanted to ruin America. You would, during the pandemic, lock kids out of the classroom. And after the pandemic, you would lock poor kids into failing schools if you wanted to ruin America. You would, instead of teaching the ABCs, you would teach C. I knew y'all were smart. I just knew y'all were smart. I could look at the front row and say, wow, this is a smart group. And I look at the back and say, oh my gosh, they're smart back there too.
Then you go to domestic policy, and here is MAGA Republican Senator Lindsey Graham basically saying how he thinks that the Republicans' prayers were all answered by the repeal of Roe v. Wade, and everybody should thank Donald Trump for the repeal of Roe v. Wade. Play this clip of Lindsey Graham.
So, how many of you have been praying for the repeal of Roe v. Wade? Your ship is in. Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, and he can be squirrely, but he is a good president on things that I care about. He nominated 3 people to the Supreme Court, and they were the heart and soul of repealing Roe v. Wade that should have been repealed a long time ago, right?
And this is Tulsi Gabbard, who pretended to be a Democrat. She was never really a Democrat. She's a MAGA Republican. And here is Tulsi Gabbard saying that the Democratic Party is controlled by the elitist cabal of warmongers led by a queen named Hillary Clinton. They're obsessed with Hillary Clinton. It's just some weird stuff. Play this clip.
When you look at the Democratic Party of today, it is a party that is controlled by this elitist cabal of warmongers that has been and continues to be led by the queen of warmongers herself, Hillary Clinton. It's true. And when you look at their policies, they are driven by this motivation of cowardly wokeness.
And Tulsi Gabbard, who basically just spreads Russian propaganda every day, here's what she said. She goes, if Biden cared about the people of Ukraine, he should have prevented this war from starting. Here, play this clip.
So they don't care about our freedom, our security, or our democracy. And I'll talk about Ukraine for a little bit. If President Biden really cared about the people of Ukraine, who are suffering the most, who are struggling, and who are dying every day this war goes on, he would have done everything possible to try to prevent this war from starting in the first place. He didn't. Putin invaded Ukraine. Well, then at that point, President Biden, our commander-in-chief, if he really cared about the people of Ukraine and what they were facing, he would have tirelessly worked every day to try to bring this war to an end as quickly as possible. He didn't. Not only did he not do that, it's even worse. He and his administration actively blocked attempts by Russian and Ukrainian officials themselves who were already meeting to try to find some resolution to their differences, to bring about an end to this. They said, no, walk away. Stop the negotiations. At every point where there have been efforts to bring about a peaceful resolution, a diplomatic resolution to the end of this war, President Biden and his administration have stopped it. It should cause every one of us to question his priorities, their priorities, the priorities of both Democrats and Republicans in Congress who want to see this war continue.
And here's Tulsi Gabbard talking about how members of Congress are walking around the House of Representatives with abortion pins. Here, play this clip.
You celebrate. I couldn't believe it when I saw it in this last State of the Union speech, how many members of Congress are walking around with a big abortion pin on their suit jacket. Not just advocating for, but celebrating abortion on demand without exception, all the way up until birth or even after birth, normalizing infanticide. We've seen this in places like New York and in other states.
You know, when he or she is saying that members of Congress or Democrats are walking around with abortion pins and they're celebrating abortion on demand with no exception, it is so utterly disgusting the way that MAGA Republicans talk about the most serious decision makings that women have to control their own bodies, period. Nobody is out here celebrating. Nobody is out here cheering things on. It is about the government not having control over the body of human beings, of women. That's what it's about. And we need to have serious conversations here generally. And when I show you these clips of these people, we're dealing with just very unserious people. And this is their platform. And we need serious people to lead us. We need people who are going to be talking about things like jobs. Okay, how do we bring more jobs here? How do we bring manufacturing jobs here to the United States? Well, one way you do it is you bring in legislation. You know, you do things like the CHIPS Act, where you bring in a semiconductor industry back here. You invest tens of billions of dollars. I think the CHIPS Act was somewhere around $50 billion because we want high-paying jobs here. We got to improve wages. There shouldn't just be a minimum wage. There should not even just be a living wage. There should be wages with dignity. That's what the Democratic Party is fighting for. I support that. I absolutely support that. I think that everybody should feel comfortable that their job will pay them a salary where they can afford a home and they won't live paycheck to paycheck. Republicans believe the opposite. And not only that, while they're picking your pocket and passing tax cuts for billionaires, they're out there talking about Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head and 90% CRT and blow dryers and hair dryers, or I may be mixing that one up, but whatever she's talking about, Mr. Potato Head and toilet flushing and all of those things. I think she may have left out hair dryers, but Mr. Potato Head and toilet paper and all of those things that they're talking about. You know, would I care though if the Republicans want to spread conspiracy theories about toilet bowls? I mean, When we have global pandemics, we should have people in charge who take them seriously, so there's not situations where there aren't the most basic of things like toilet papers need to be on the shelves. And we need to treat global pandemics, with the seriousness with it deserves. You go back to the statements where they're like, they kicked the kids out of the classrooms during the global pandemic. We're living in a global pandemic. Why are we minimizing the severity and seriousness of something that we actually have data for that killed millions of people? And that's the MAGA Republican Party. It is nonsensical. It is not serious. So yeah, I want to hear about jobs. I want to hear about wages. I want to hear about infrastructure. I want to hear about improving education, not just maligning and attacking, malign and attack teachers. No, how do we help teachers? How do we improve? How do we make it more attractive to get into that profession? How do we improve wages for teachers? Because ultimately that will be helpful to students to help them learn. How do we make education more accessible and affordable? How do we lower prescription drug prices? How do we give people life-saving care so that they can afford it? How do we help women control their own bodies, not create policies that have the government control a woman's body? How do we make sure that LGBTQ plus community can be treated equally, can be treated like human beings, can marry who they want to marry without government, without people like the people you saw in this video saying no? What gives you the right to say no? Who are you? Who do you think you are? That's what I want to focus on. I want people who are serious, who have solutions. And then you basically see, here's an article that was written about this event. Conservative leaders attend Vision 2024 in North Charleston. This was one of the local press articles. Conservative leaders from across the nation were in North Charleston on Saturday for the Vision 24 National Conservative Forum. Here's the thing, never call these people conservative. There's nothing conservative about any of the things that they're talking about. They don't want to conserve our democracy. They don't want to conserve our Constitution. They call terrorist insurrectionists, they call them political prisoners. They're in a cult that worships Donald Trump, and they consider that conservative? I think in many ways, I'm more conservative than they are because I believe in the very least conserving our institutions. I believe that political parties shouldn't be weirdo cults to people like Donald Trump want to be Mussolinis and Hitlers. I don't think that I believe in real law and order. I don't believe in this performative BS that MAGA Republicans. I believe we have to address issues seriously. There's nothing conservative about them. Are you kidding me? I just don't like how it's normalized here. Anyway, in these articles, but we're never going to normalize it on the MeidasTouch network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your incredible support. We're marching to 1 million subscribers in the month of March. So please help us get there. It's free to subscribe on YouTube. Also, check out the MeidasTouch podcast wherever you get your audio podcast. Just search MeidasTouch podcast. Check it out there. And then you can also check out patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch to get exclusive membership benefits there as well. Check that out. And again, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas.
Love this video? Then you'll love the MeidasTouch podcast. Listen as my brothers and I break down the latest news and chat with top political leaders on the fastest growing pro-democracy podcast in the world. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Friday. Add the MeidasTouch podcast right now wherever you listen to your podcasts.